We're back, and this is Patitos Gang. And today we have an amazing subject, a tale of two cities. How the gap between the very rich and the rest of society is widening when the poor, average people cannot seem to survive. Middle class is dying off. But if you are making so much money, it's difficult to even begin to find the energy to count. Well, I've got with me Dr. Berin Zawuji, Professor Pungo Adi, and Ejike Ekwebalo. Relax. Let's have focused conversation. This is Patitos Gang, and what sweet feeling to be back. It's hard to see a show that parents watch and want their children to watch.
The gang became a mirror, the issues in society, and it did it real time.
Government just needs to mirror Patitos Gang and say, let us create an enabling environment for entrepreneurship to thrive.
Truth and the pursuit of truth can be very lonely track to travel. Once your path is the path of truth, it doesn't matter if there are so many who are doing the wrong thing.
There are many sides to the truth. So someone is analyzing this particular policy today, and he's looking at it from a totally different dimension from the government that actually put forward the policy.
Out of 200 million people, we can't have a recycled politician over and over and over again.
Television shows come and go, they end, but people just didn't seem to want to let go of Patitos Gang on the streets of Melbourne, Australia, down under. And some guys start screaming from a and I'm wondering, no, it's not possible. It can't be. Democracy and modernity meet where a marketplace of ideas is created and rational public conversation takes place. Patitos Gang is part of Nigerian legend. A tale of two cities. Nigeria is an incredible place to live in. I was looking at the report a few weeks ago of the PiggyVest, is a 2025 PiggyVest savings report. And this fintech group has done a remarkable job of dealing with savings culture in Nigeria and publishes this report that is quite well regarded. And the point was made in this report that actually 70% of us in Nigeria earn less than 100,000 naira a month. Well, it takes nearly 2.5 times that much to fill the tank of my car. And I'm asking myself, is it possible that people, they begin to think of it. How much does a university professor earn in this country? They work for some government university. It's probably at best 500,000 naira in a month. And they probably live in an area where power will take up 150,000, maybe 200,000 of that money. How is it possible that people are still alive and going? Yet, I watch primaries and I see people spending 50 million, 30, 40 million as if the thing was going out of the give this chap, they give that chap, they pay the official one. How can they have all that money when professors can't even fill a tank with their entire month's salary? What's going on?
Yeah, Prof, it's a very serious matter. I recall speaking to a journalist recently on specifically this issue, and I couldn't hide my emotions because it is a very disturbing trend. You know, we haven't seen it this bad in the history of this country, and that is the truth that must be told. We've seen the situation where the GDP has actually grown from 2020, 22, 23. The GDP has actually grown by about 60%. You know, but per capita income has dropped by more than that magnitude at the same time. So you have a growing economy, but then you have an impoverishing population. What does that say? Meaning that the government policies in the last 2-3 years has actually served to impoverish the people while enriching very few individuals. So what do I think about the reforms and the policies of the current administration? That takes us back to Joseph Nye's prebendalism,
Mm.
At its highest manifestation or orchestration, and that's what we're living through in Nigeria today. So it is really bad. Economy is growing. Per capita income, as at 2023 May 29, per capita income was about $2,300.
Mm.
Today, per capita income, according to the World Bank, is $1,200. But then, if you compute it yourself, it's about $800. Where does that take us? And then we are living in a period of increased tax, tax take from the government. So it is a very disturbing one. And another thing I would like to add is that we also live in a in a period where the government seems to have absolved itself of all responsibility to the masses. Yeah, I have no problem with neoclassical, what do you call it, Washington or
Consensus,
post-Washington consensus and
ideas.
liberalism and all that. I have no problem with that, the economics of deregulation. That's fine. But then you have to do all these things when you want to drive a market-led system. It has to actually work with their unique circumstance, and then it has to also work with the proper understanding of their political economic situation. Now, not just copy and paste. So, and again, where there is no moral involvement in the whole situation, because that's actually the real problem that I see in our society of today, where there is no sense of moral probity. And when how does the Bible says when the citadel of justice is corrupt, what can the people do?
Just you mentioned Richard, my friend Richard Joseph, and his prebendal politics in Nigeria and his work around prebendalism. Basically, what it brings out again when I'm looking at it is that those who are taking their share upfront from there are taking so much, and the policies are preventing the base from living, from even breathing. And again, talking about morality and all, and whether neoclassical and all of that, somebody laissez-faire, big guy from France, who wrote the law, and Frederick Bastiat.
Yes.
He wants free market, everything, but he says that there is a point where the state protects the humanity of the people. And so I'm wondering, is it that we are misreading the classical writers on this matter, or that we just lost our conscience and the people don't matter? So long as we get validation from Washington or Paris, it's okay, let's do these things.
Yes, I may just come in. That and much more, Prof. The erosion of values, the value system too in a society, is so rampant, that the habit of handouts, where the big man there, is always going down to give, people down there in the handout. So expectations over time in a society has become that way, that where, they look up to the people who are so rich, who are in government, who have access to public funds, and then they're always waiting, to receive, other than like maybe also aspiring to, to earn. I was reading something earlier today, about Oxford University, some innovations they were making, which an important strata of the society where, things like innovation, research, and productivity, is not seen in this part of the world. Now I'm even like putting the horizon on the private sector that, though encouragement is needed by government and public institutions, but also our people should enhance, being innovative, being ingenious, and grow, private entrepreneurship, which will also help, to balance the inequality in the society. I think, we should be also calling on the private sector players, to enhance their trade, their vocation, their industry,
One of them is here.
and expertise
How are you guys going to free us? You
to bridge this gap.
entrepreneurs.
Key to every successful economy is the operating environment, enabling environment for that. You understand? And I think that enabling environment, we've struggled with it for decades in these climes. You understand? For instance, you mentioned numbers showing that there are, for instance, every time I tell you foreign reserve has grown by this number and all that. But there's also something that is, I think, is the U.S. economy, that is jobless growth.
Yes.
We have the classic case of jobless growth here. We also have the classic case of where you're talking about the per capita and all that, where it's basically regressing while there's supposed to be growth. So to the man on the street, the poverty is hitting harder than ever. To the businessman running businesses in this country today, it's beyond horrific. I can tell you, for instance, those running the hotel business and all that, where the power has to be on 24/7, and you're buying diesel at 2,000 naira per liter. Because, of course, even though there's band A, okay, when you're on band A, it's costlier, you get more decent power. But when you're outside band A, sometimes you are totally forgotten.
But me, I'm in band A, but I don't see the power.
And when you don't see the power,
double whammy.
when you don't see the power, you put on the diesel generators.
Yes.
I know of a classic case of a guy that came in from America to run a medical practice here. World-class practice, lots of equipment, billions and all that. He had to go back because the cost of, I think at a point, they were talking of diesel costs coming to, I can't remember how many millions in a month. And of course, you have clients that are coming, you want to do some procedures, oh, this is the amount, 5 million, somebody is begging you, this is what I have. You also feel that moral thing about, do I help this person out of compassion or do I run a business? And then also, of course, the weakness of the market out there, because I'm talking from a standpoint of a private sector business now. The weakness of the market, sometimes you have a situation where you have all these glowing numbers, but you know that the carrying capacity of the market you have there, the effective demand for your product is not exactly there. So, but if government, for instance, can assure that power will be there on a 24/7 basis, the uncertainty about power would go off. Investment can come in, because the truth is that what even drives growth in most climes is also the extent of FDI you can attract. And that is also the true barometer of success of your even reform programs and all that.
But even the capital that you can make at home, whenever the issue of foreign investment and debate goes on, I like to throw in the fact that one really remarkable economist from the 50s, Ragnar Knox, used to say capital is made at home. How can you make capital? How can you save in this kind of environment? How do you get the investments that you need to create those jobs? Because look, if you don't have jobs, the quality of life of most people will not improve. It's their income from those jobs that make them live better.
Absolutely. In fact, I just Googled something just as we're having this discussion. If you Google AI now to ask Google AI about cost of living in Nigeria today, AI tells you on the average that you need about 350 to 400,000 to survive on a monthly basis in the country.
And yet 70% of us earn less than 100,000.
Yes.
That puts it stuck.
So, and I can give you an instance of my barber, who was just whispering to me a few days ago that, oh, look, he used to go to work with 700 naira, comes to work in Ikoyi, 700 naira, to
transportation.
Yes, and
One way.
But one way. But that same transportation now is 3,500 to 4,000 naira. And he says correspondingly, his landlord just announced an increase, rent increase from 300,000 to 1.2 million naira.
So
just to add, to what you're saying from a private entrepreneurship angle, I know that MSMEs, is a sector that thrives so well in Nigeria. For instance, the resilience of the Nigerian man. There are so many parts of the country where you see ingenuity, you see people, even in like this a difficult operating environment. They innovate, they come together, they grow their businesses at that level. So what I think they need to do for that will be maybe amalgamate and make their voices, their resources heard to see whether even government can begin to look their direction better. When
Okay.
they see production, come, maybe it could attract a government
Well,
a take.
it's a good thing to be thinking about while we'll take a break. When we come back, we want to really look at the sheer moral pressure of living in a time of two cities, a divided society in which a few live like money has no meaning
Absolutely.
and the most are groaning. This is Patitos Gang, and we'll be right back. And we are back. This is Patitos Gang, and we're talking a tale of two cities. How a few are getting extremely wealthy and the most are getting very, very poor. This is not a new thing in the history of the human race. We've gone through seasons like this, and moral voices had to rise. Uh, the Tale of Two Cities is a book by Charles Dickens, actually, written about the period of Industrial Revolution that essentially tried to focus on some of these things. And just about that time, a, a pope named Leo the 13th was elected, and he weighed into the conditions of that era in which human beings were treated like chattels, disposable, things, and life was really miserable for most people in the Industrial Revolution, England, and places like that. And he wrote an encyclical letter titled Rerum Novarum, which essentially is the heart of the body of the so-called social doctrines of the Catholic Church. And the question is, the voices are muted as Nigeria is going through similar or worse conditions today. What do we need as moral voices, to point to people who are making policy that, you know, you can say all kinds of things about policy. They say to you it will lead to greater growth. And I often turn back and say, look, we said stuff like that when SAP came. We had a J curve that explained the lag for when that growth takes place. And it never happened. That growth did not come. But you're watching people suffering much more today than we watched during SAP. So, what should really be the moral climate in discussing these policy choices that are being justified in Washington, Paris, and maybe some places?
Before anything anybody says, no matter how influential, before it could have the expected impact on leadership, we have to look at the transmission mechanism. That's a macroeconomic thing, but let's bring it to the society and to the political economy. Do we have an enabling political economic structure that actually allows that transmission from maybe influential voices, the moral voices, to reticulate to the people at the top? My answer is unequivocal no. We don't have that structure. We live in a captive state. Okay. I was earlier talking about the mission state or the mission economy, where Mariana Mazzucato, really developed a narrative of the role of the state in industrialization, in empowering people, in business development, corporate emancipation. Now, our state seems to have evolved in a particularly different order, where it is not enabling, okay, it is dictatorial, and it is Well, even though it's not military, but it is highly militarized. The state weaponizes poverty as a policy. So we have to look at all this because, you know, it just like, okay, I'll give you an instance. Fiscal federalism. Some people laud this current administration for, you know, the so-called giant strike in that respect, local government autonomy and whatever, giving more money. The subnational entities have received, each of them, since in the past 2 years, their FAC allocation has increased, some by more than 100%, some by as much as 200%. But what do we have to show for it? Nothing. Why is that the case? Because the political economic structure actually is one that encourages the prebendalism that we spoke about earlier. Okay, this centralization or you know, collection of the fifth, it's kind of a fiefdom. That is what our political economy encourages. We have not addressed it.
And the governors are the worst examples
Exactly.
of that.
So we have not addressed it. And then we are heaping policies upon policies on a very wrong foundation. It cannot work. So no matter what the moral voices say, no matter how powerful, and we are not deficient of that. There is no scarcity of moral voices. After, I mean, the religious organizations, Nigeria is so religious. Okay, the so-called men of God, they are all over the place. Everybody goes to church on Sundays and listens to someone who,
and the mosques on Friday.
And mosque on Friday. And so everybody has someone he listens to that, you know, persuade them.
Actually, some people go to Izenwanyis.
and Governor Soludo is fighting them.
Okay, so we have that in abundance, yet it has not driven any change. So I think what Nigerians need to come together to do is to interrogate this particular system. Okay, it is not consistent with the ambition of growing of a
sustainable
developmental state.
Developmental state is the essence of why we struggle for independence and all of that.
Exactly, but the structure that we have that has evolved, it is not compatible to the ideals of a developmental state. Take South Korea, take Taiwan, take Hong Kong. Just think of any,
Classic
even in the Latin American countries. Okay, none of them has the kind of institution, the kind of structure that we have in this place.
What has happened instead is that state capture has risen.
Exactly.
Where a small group of business people capture the state through a political class that is essentially just there to serve the interest of those state, those are non-state actors from the private sector.
I think, Prof, you know, the rise or resurgence of the civil society organizations, you know, have to enhance the third force phenomena, you know, and
let me put something there before you continue. The state has completely disemboweled the CSO movement. It used to be active in the past. Right now, the press, CSO, they
seem to have
been captured by the state.
But there's still some credible ones. And where I'm going,
we don't have that critical mass.
Where I'm even going is that, you know, some recent
statements rebuilding it. It's rebuilding it. That's the main thing.
Rebuilding it. There's some recent statements that Prof, you know, here made about how it will even look like, you know, in the next general election, where accountability and transparent process involving even like people from outside. So that's where I'm going. As CSOs, you know, need to enhance their activities. And now, of course, the world is a global village. Make room for people from outside to even come to enhance. There are so many governance institutes here. There's the IRL, you know, the Republican Institute, the Democratic one. So enhance the collaborations.
You know,
with international.
I agree with you completely.
Counterparts.
You know, my problem is that the enabling environment is not there. I've sat several instances. I wrote a case in 2020. That case actually just last month won an award as the first place in Morocco. the dilemma of the anti-corruption crusader, and it's centered on budget.
Okay.
Shehu
yes,
Onibindo,
yes.
And even
right?
the yes, and his work.
What he's doing, right? I interviewed him. Now, what's the case about? During Buhari's administration, he was appointed special technical advisor to the Ministry of Budget and National Planning. He lasted only for 3 days. The Buhari Media Organization, the BMO, they took it up on him. Oh, this is a guy who's been criticizing us. Now he wants to join, so he's a vulture. All those kind of stuff. They came on him, and then the civil society also didn't support him. So the guy was caught in a word in between. Okay, should I go? Should I not go? That's the dilemma of the case, right? So eventually, what did he do? He resigned the appointment. So people saw, the civil society movement saw it, okay, this guy is a sell-off. He lost the opportunity to go sit at the table, where, with the government that is being criticized. So he can now begin to, execute the change that is being, from inside. He lost that opportunity.
So,
but then, you see a divided national, system.
Cohesion.
Yes,
That has even gotten worse right now.
Yes.
So if you're a moral
Because the state is militarized right now
Militarized.
and
It's
against any other.
Yes.
See what is happening to Showore.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. He's not my friend, and I don't like his antics. But because he's an, Showore, the former governor of Kaduna
State, yes.
So what do we call those?
The truth is, for anything to change, really, there's one integral element that has to, come in first. The vote of the average Nigerian has to start counting. It's the ultimate goal.
Let's look at the states.
Yeah,
just yesterday.
We'll get to that.
If that is, of course, is the destination. But if that happens, a lot of things will change because the people that capture the state, if they know they can be upturned
Exactly.
through the,
vote
through
of
a
the
free
people.
and fair.
Yes, and there's a strong component that Prof mentioned a few days ago of how that process will be monitored with the collaboration of international people. So, I mean, we'll get to that.
Unfortunately, we are out of time, and we have to account to the timekeeper. So we gotta go. But we'll continue this conversation. This is Patitos Gang, and we'll see you next week.